Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas. Oh, sorry about that. My stand fell. How weird is that? Alright, so there's a lot of stuff going on in the news over the last few days, especially here in Northern California, Southern California. The rain has been almost nonstop. I mean, we get a couple of little breaks here and there to kind of clear the ground. It's so saturated right now that and it's cool enough that we don't get much in the way of evaporation. So the water that is standing remains standing unless it's moving from one pool to another, so we get some movement. But it's been a little hectic. Not gonna lie, where I work, we've had flooding issues. Finally got that fixed, so that's not an issue anymore, thank God. But outside my site, in the city that I work in, there's a lot of flooding. Just north of where I live, several rivers have crested their banks and caused some evacuations. The entire city of, I almost said Moraga, and I think that's wrong, but down Southern California, or down in Central California, really, San Luis Obispo area, Ventura area, whole towns have been moved away for fear of rock slides and mudslides, just rolling right on down into the ocean and taking out their homes and stuff. It's a little scary, and it's a little scary because we've made, as a state, we've made no effort whatsoever to repair or replace our infrastructure for water salvage. And prior to this rain, the last 3 years we've had fires. I mean, acreage and acreage. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. Acres and acres and acres and miles and miles and miles of forest, of towns, of incorporated, unincorporated areas are just devastated. There is no, and the fire in a lot of places got so hot that it literally killed the ground underneath it. So now the only thing that is there is currently mud. And if it's in the high ground and you're in the low ground, you're going to want to seriously consider moving, at least for the time being. There is nothing to stop the mud and the rocks from coming down because of the fires, because we made no effort to repair our reservoirs. And the efforts that we did make were slow and inconsequential. They're talking about, in Sacramento, they're talking about putting another reservoir out there, actually building it, which seems kind of dumb. They're going to dam one side of a small valley where there's a town, a small town, and they've been talking about this for like 40 years, this one particular area. The problem with this one particular area is it's not the low ground. And what they want to do is ship water from the Sacramento River to this reservoir. The Sacramento River is a pleasure river, what we call a pleasure river. There's a lot of fishing, there's a lot of boating, there's a lot of partying on that river. There's a lot of places where people just get their inner tubes and hook them all together, and now it's just one giant raft. And they pass beer around and whatnot. But the Sacramento River is losing water before they start shipping it to this reservoir. So that's not really a viable option, that one reservoir that they're going to build a dam for and kill a town for, to maybe save a little water that they're going to steal from the river. I just don't think that's very forward thinking. Down in South County, San Jose, the South Santa Clara County, there are 4 reservoirs down there. 2 of them were low, and with all this rain, they started flooding down into their creeks. They had to lower the water that was in the reservoir, so they just dumped it into the creek without thinking about how much water was going into the creek. And that turned into mandatory evacuations because we have no place to keep the water that we desperately need, because the Colorado River is losing volume. So much so that they're cutting back. Well, they've already been cutting back for, 2 years now? The Lake Mead in Nevada. That water is the only water that Las Vegas has. And now that lake is almost empty. And that lake feeds the dam for the Hoover Dam. So all that 4 dam area is lower. So the water that goes through that dam now generates less power for Arizona and Nevada. That dam serviced like 500,000 people for power. And now it can't, because there isn't enough water coming out of the Colorado. And rather than try to fix that in different ways, they're arguing about who gets water at this point. And that is beyond stupid, in my opinion. Pardon me. I don't know how I can do anything to fix this. I can't. My legislators don't listen to me because I don't vote Democrat. And the Republican legislators in my state don't hold any power, except in their little tiny fiefdom. Their little tiny representative area. And even then, they can't get very much done because all the stuff above them is controlled by Democrats, and that's where the water and the money comes from. So, I'm going to leave this country, or this site. I'm sorry. I'm going to leave this state as soon as I possibly can. I'm not positive where I'm going yet, but when I get there, I'll let you know. And I'll let you know what I think of that area as well. If we make some efforts in conservation of water and actually do it properly, we can be okay. There'll still have to probably be some desalinization on the West Coast because Southern California is a freaking desert. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's no water there. And the water that is there is being shipped from way outside of that area. The whole state is like that. That's why we have nasty forest fires and then huge nasty floods. Because it's cyclic. This kind of flood happens every 6 or 8 years. We know it's coming because it's consistent. The fires, when we're in drought, we know they're coming because it's consistent. Because we're doing nothing to clear the forest floor. The fire department, CAL FIRE, and U.S. Fire, I think, they do some burns, but that's not what we need. What we need is going in there and cleaning it out. Just ask any of the Native Americans in California. They'll tell you how to take care of the forest and when you let a fire run and when you take care of a fire. When you start a fire and when you stop a fire. They know all these things, and yet the government is unwilling to speak to them because they're casino Indians. I don't know what the problem is there. The knowledge is there. The knowledge base is there. And yet we are not willing to reach out and say, hey, can you help us in this endeavor to continue to be a viable state? Governor Newsom just said, hey, we're going to be the 5th largest economy on the planet. Well, that's possibly true. It's probably not, though, because we have a lot of government stuff. Military bases, military contracts, government contracts. You take all that money away, send it to Taiwan or Texas, Alaska, any place else, and we're probably not even remotely close to where we were even 20 years ago. Tesla said, you know what, if you don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with you. Took his toys, moved his headquarters to Texas, of all godforsaken places. Just kidding. I like Texas. I got friends in Texas. Anyway, they offered him a better deal. And California was unwilling, the governor specifically, was unwilling to work with him. I do not know why, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm rambling a little bit, but you see where I'm going. It's all government issue stuff, except for the water issue. And the water issue is because none of our governments, state governments, federal governments, made a real effort to, one, save the Colorado, two, figure out a way to save water without losing it to evaporation or ground suck, whatever. We've made no effort. None. The only effort we're doing right now, Colorado is cutting the water off, in essence, and sending it to Lake Powell, which is between Utah and New Mexico. There's a big dam there, and that's still down a third of what it would normally carry. But by cutting off Lake Mead and filling Lake Powell, we're not making any effort. We're not making a real effort here, not in my opinion. I could be wrong. Don't hesitate to tell me if you think I'm wrong. That's what the comment section's for. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much. If you have some solutions, I would love to hear them. Oh yeah, and the other thing, I'm still talking to constitutionalist attorneys about suing specific legislators, senators, both state and federal, when they choose to ignore their oath of office and vote for unconstitutional, write or vote or pass unconstitutional laws. They should be sued out of office. And once you start taking their seat of power, they'll start paying more attention to who you are. That's what we're doing, okay? You guys have a great day. Thank you so much. Live long, fight hard, win the day. See ya!